is Mopop's biggest annual fundraiser, even more critical this year, but Jacob McMurray, Mopop's exhibits director, says as visitors return, they've gotten creative beyond just social distancing.
We have over 70 touch screens in the galleries, so either removing those things, making the interactives so you don't have to touch them. We're actually also providing styluses for visitors so that they can actuate the interactives with styluses.
This year, the ceremony will stream online, including performances by Alice in Chains and other musicians with their own spin on the band's music. The Mopop Founders Award show streams December 1st. Ryan Harris, Como News.
Well, if anybody can get it done, it's them. Let's get an update now on Sports 340 as we visit with Bill Swartz. The Storm flag high above the Space Needle, Bill.
Yeah, the Seattle Storm are getting plenty of love 3,000 miles away as they take on the Las Vegas Aces in the WNBA Finals. Veteran Sue Bird has paced herself during the shortened regular season for this rare opportunity.
It's been an interesting year being in and out of the lineup, not really getting into any kind of rhythm, any kind of flow for myself. So, the times where it's been hard, I've just tried to kind of, understand that you got to get through it to get to the other side.
Tip is 20 minutes from now in the Florida bubble. 6 o'clock start also in Florida on Como TV for Game 2 of the NBA Finals. LeBron James of the LA Lakers cruise by Miami in the opener. The Seahawks will go to Miami this afternoon and hang out for Sunday's NFL game with the Dolphins. Seattle without injured defensive players Jamal Adams and Jordan Brooks. Running back Chris Carson should be good to go. The Pac-12 expected to come out with its revised 6-game conference football schedule tomorrow. Long faces in Chicago, the Cubbies were swept in their MLB wildcard series by the Miami Marlins. Sports at 10 and 40 after the hour. Bill Swartz, Como News.
Things getting busy on the roads. Typical Friday. We'll tell you the trouble spots with Marina Rockinger next.
Lowe's has a brand new flooring showroom filled with all types of floors. Scratch-resistant floors for toddlers and their toys. Easy-to-clean carpets for canines. Stain-resistant floors for scrumptious suppers. Even floors for yogis finding out how flexible they are. There's floors for all, and they're all at Lowe's. Choose your style and have it installed for the holidays. Install available in-store only. Holiday install applies to basic install and subject to measurement and purchase date restrictions. Installer and product availability. See Lowe's.com for details and licensing. Contiguous U.S. only.
The Home Depot introduces new James Hardie HardieBacker cement board with Hydro Defense technology. 100% waterproof, it's the ultimate barrier to moisture. Now you can skip the steps of waterproofing the entire board, just the joints and fasteners, and you're done. If you're a pro with a bathroom to tile and no time to waste, we've got your backer. New HardieBacker with Hydro Defense technology. In-store, online, now at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Passes ANSI A118.10 waterproof test.
Before I was adopted, I felt like nobody wanted me. I felt like my life was already over.
At a certain age, they don't want you. You're troubled and stuff.
Even if I wanted to be adopted, who would adopt a 17-year-old?
Inside, I knew, I'm not a troubled kid. I know what I'm in for, why I'm here.
My biggest fear was that I would age out and not know how to be sufficient on my own.
I had nightmares every single day at my birth mom's house. It was just really scary for me living there.
I was scared, I was lost, and I felt hopeless.
I felt like, don't I deserve to feel happy and loved?
I just wish I'd gotten adopted sooner.
Unfortunately, the number of children waiting to be adopted from foster care is on the rise. The Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption is the only public nonprofit charity in the U.S. focused exclusively on foster care adoption. You can help. Go to davethomasfoundation.org to learn more.
Meet Ingrid, fiery spirit, caring grandma, proud trucker.
I've logged more than 4 million miles in my truck. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. I was driving outside of Ohio when a gentleman stopped suddenly in front of me. But it takes my 80,000-pound truck 200 yards to stop. I'd given myself extra room, but it's not a chance worth taking.
It's our roads. It's our safety. Visit www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Right now, more than 125,000 children are waiting to be adopted from foster care. The Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption works around the clock to find them the permanent, loving homes they deserve. You can help. Learn more at davethomasfoundation.org.
Hannah complained of a headache. It was a rhabdomyosarcoma. The tumor was very aggressive, and it very quickly became clear that St. Jude was the ultimate place to be. St. Jude is an asset to the world. I think it's the kind of place that could teach the world a couple of lessons about how to treat people. If those lessons could be learned, this world could be a better place.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Time now for a check on traffic. Here's Marina. Big troubles in Bellevue and Kirkland. So northbound 405, just south of Northeast 116th and Kirkland, a collision is taking up the 3 left lanes. That is causing a solid backup if you're trying to leave Bellevue. So at least the slowdown starts to begin at 520. Then it really gets tough at Northeast 70th up to the scene. The other issue we have is southbound 405. A collision now reported just north of 520 in Bellevue in the right toll lane and the 2 left general purpose lanes. That backup is starting to become solid as well. In fact, from Northeast 85th all the way down to the scene of the collision, you get a brief break and then solid in Bellevue from Southeast 8th to I-90. Southbound I-5 into Seattle struggles from Lake City Way to I-90. Northbound I-5 in Everett is slow from the Boeing Freeway up to Marine View Drive. We also have slowdowns that are tough. Southbound 167 south of Highway 18, and it gets bumper to bumper right around, looks like right around Ellingson all the way down into Sumner. This look at traffic is sponsored by Lowe's. Bring on autumn with help from Lowe's. Right now, get 3-quart Hardy Mum starting at just $5.98. Selection and pricing vary by location while supplies last. In-store only. Valid through 9:30 U.S. only. Next, Como traffic at 3:54.
The Como weather outlook. The hazy skies kind of stubborn, taking their sweet merry time getting out of the area, so it looks a little hazy overnight and tomorrow morning. Then we'll get more clearing tomorrow afternoon with a high somewhere in the upper 60s. Look for mid-60s on Sunday with clearer air still. Some morning fog, too, possible over the weekend. And in downtown Seattle, it's 72 degrees at 3:46.
Stay connected. Stay informed. The Northwest's only 24-hour news station. Como News 1000, FM 97.7.
With Elisa Jaffe, I'm Rick Van Cise, our editor, Jeremy Grader.
President Trump just posted a video statement on Twitter recorded before his departure on Marine One to Walter Reed Medical Center.
I want to thank everybody for the tremendous support. I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out. The First Lady is doing very well. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I will never forget it. Thank you.
And the president is now at the hospital where he is suffering mild COVID symptoms of fever, chills, and congestion.
We've been hearing more about QAnon in recent weeks. It's been around for a while, though. Closer look suggests Facebook and Twitter both missed years of warning signs about the conspiracy theories' violent nature. Craig Timberg, covering for the Washington Post, talked with Como's Bill O'Neill.
Craig, let's start with a reminder of some of the things QAnon has been saying.
QAnon essentially posits the idea that Democratic officials and Hollywood celebrities are pedophiles and cannibals, that they're out to eat and rape children, and that they also, in the process, are trying to subvert the Constitution, and that President Trump is working against these things.
And obviously there's no indication that any of that is true.
Zero. Many of your listeners probably remember the Pizzagate conspiracy theory from 2016, which eventually led to a man walking into a pizza shop in D.C. and firing some bullets in his efforts to find a supposed underground lair where children were being held. And, of course, none of that was true either. Pizzagate kind of died out after that incident, but QAnon sort of flared up about a year later.
Well, the information, of course, is still out there. And, of course, social media is often used to get these messages out. That's where Facebook and Twitter come in here.
Indeed. You know, like a lot of these conspiracy theories, they start on these really far-off fringes in places like 4chan and such, but they all gradually work their way inward to Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, because they're trying to reach mass audiences and affect people who maybe would be inclined to dismiss these things out of hand. So the people behind these conspiracy theories have been really effective at kind of harnessing the power of these mainstream platforms. And that's where our story begins, sort of asking the question, well, what happens then?
Yeah, how did these platforms end up missing these signals of what QAnon really says and is?
It's not clear to me they were looking that hard for a long time. Both Facebook and Twitter did big takedowns of QAnon content a couple of months ago, and YouTube did a similar thing a year earlier. And then so what we asked is, well, what happened before that? And so we went back and looked at contemporaneous material from early 2018, and all of the things that the platforms are now talking about as problems, the harassment, the incitement to violence, the hate speech, are all really evident going back years now. And in terms of the reason why, I think there's, part of this is just the platforms have been slow to deal with all kinds of threats because their default position is to allow everything as much as possible, and they sort of pin in what their readers or users can say as slowly as possible. But also there was this concern that QAnon was essentially conservative political voices speaking up in the way they wanted to, and the platforms have been really reluctant to take on Trump supporters.
As you said, they've done some things to kind of address this, but once again, this has to be seen as another blow for Facebook and Twitter in terms of handling extreme messages online.
Yes. It's more evidence that they're kind of making it up as they go along. And I don't mean that in a cavalier way. I mean, I think that there's good people in these companies, and the policies, once they get around to enacting them, in many cases are thoughtful, and they're enforced in a way that is also thoughtful and intentional. But man, they've been really slow on lots of things. We all remember the 2016 election and the debacle that happened on social media. Here we are 4 years later, and they're only now getting around to dealing with some of these issues.
That's national technology reporter Craig Timberg. Read more online at WashingtonPost.com.
Thank you, Bill. That's Como's Bill O'Neill.
3:50, time for a Propel Insurance Money Update with Rob Smith from Seattle Business Magazine.
Commercial office space leasing activity in Seattle is down 71% from the same time last year. Colliers International says leasing activity is at a 2-decade low as employees increasingly work from home during the pandemic. Sound Transit is in talks with Bridge Housing to build a $500 million housing, retail, and office development across the street from Bellevue's Spring District. If terms are approved, construction wouldn't start until 2023 and wouldn't be finished until 4 years later. The Dow lost 134 points to close at 27,682. NASDAQ fell 251 and the S&P 500 lost 32. This is Rob Smith with Seattle Business Magazine for Como News.
A check on traffic coming right up.
If you thought cooking meant having to stay in the kitchen the entire time, think again. Because Lowe's has Samsung slide-in ranges with Wi-Fi that let you connect via your smartphone using the SmartThings app. Preheat and adjust cook times and temperatures on your oven, and even monitor your cooktop from anywhere. So you can spend time doing things like relaxing on your patio and keep an eye on dinner at the same time. Bring home innovation this fall with Lowe's. Preheat applies to electric models only. Available on Android and iOS devices. Wi-Fi connection and a Samsung account are required. U.S. only.
You know your body, and you know when something's off, when something doesn't feel quite right. Don't ignore symptoms like fatigue, joint pain, rashes, and fever. They could be signs of lupus. Listen to your body. Take care of yourself. We're here to help you take control of your health. Learn how at BeFierceTakeControl.org. Brought to you by the Lupus Foundation of America and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Hi, I'm Brad Keselowski, driver number 2, Discount Tire Ford Mustang. If there's one thing I've learned after years on the track, it's that having the right amount of pressure in your tires can make or break performance. Properly inflated tires are essential to the health of your car and to keep you driving safely. Check your tire pressure once a month, especially before road trips, or stop by your neighborhood tire retailer for help.
A message from the U.S. Tire Manufacturers Association.
Before I was adopted, I felt like my life was already over.
My biggest fear was that I would age out and not know how to be sufficient on my own.
At a certain age, they don't want you, you're troubled and stuff.
The clock is ticking for the more than 125,000 kids waiting to be adopted from foster care. Help the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption prevent them from aging out without a permanent family. Learn more at davethomasfoundation.org.
Uncle Dan?
Mom? Dad?
If you store your guns properly, so not just anyone can get to them.
I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside. Safer when walking home.
Safer when my friends come over. As your neighbor, I'll feel safer.
As a school teacher, I'll feel safer.
We'll all feel safer.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
3:54, here's Marina with Como traffic.
Well, we did have a collision that was causing a big backup southbound 405 right before you get to 520. The good news is it's cleared out of the way, but it's bumper to bumper from 85th. But the other big collision we have is northbound 405, and that's now taking up 4 left lanes. You're only going to squeeze by on the right, just south of Northeast 116th in Kirkland, and that backup is solid. It's bumper to bumper traffic now from 520 up to 116th. You break free from that when you get up past the 522 interchange near 160th. We're hearing about some debris in the roadway blocking a couple lanes. This Look at Traffic is sponsored by Allstate. If you're driving less, you could be saving more on car insurance. Save money with pay-per-mile insurance from Allstate. Call a local Allstate agent and get a quote. Your next Como Traffic at 4:04.
The Como weather outlook: morning clouds and fog, afternoon sunshine tomorrow with a high near 70 degrees. We're at 72 in downtown Seattle. Como News Time 3:55.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is sending President Trump and the First Lady a New York Cares Get Well package. Lisa G. reports.
The governor says members of his own family have had coronavirus, and it creates a lot of anxiety, and he's sure Trump's kids are worried. Cuomo added that while he and the president have their differences, they're both New Yorkers, so they're not shy about speaking their minds, and he did wish them both a speedy recovery. Cuomo didn't mention what's inside the care package. Lisa G., NBC News Radio, New York.
University of Notre Dame President Reverend John Jenkins, who attended a Supreme Court nomination ceremony at the White House, has tested positive for COVID-19. He was present at Amy Coney Barrett's ceremony. She attended Notre Dame Law and was a law professor there. She also tested positive for the virus earlier this summer. And Jenkins apologized to the Notre Dame community after complaints were raised that he attended the event without wearing a mask.
Now today's consumer tip, sponsored by Passato Safe Haven, the Northwest leading animal sanctuary and rescue organization. Find them on the web at passatos.org. Here's her voice bomb.
We tend to think of spring as allergy season, but for our pets, autumn can bring on allergic reactions. Unlike humans, dogs and cats don't tend to sneeze or get runny noses. They get skin infections.
So there will be a lot of itching usually. Sometimes there are ear infections, licking at their paws.
Dr. Shayla Johnson, a veterinarian at Beach Veterinary Hospital in Seattle, says the most common treatment for an environmental allergy is removing constant exposure to the allergen, whether it's grass or pollen or dust.
Think that your dog has a grass allergy, we're going to recommend every time that your baby comes inside from a walk, wiping their paws off with a warm washcloth just to remove the allergen from their skin, because that's how they absorb the allergen.
If your dog or cat is constantly licking or scratching themselves, contact your vet. You want to make sure it's not another issue. If it is allergies, Fido or Felix could have a bacterial infection caused by the licking and scratching that might require treatment with an antibiotic. Your vet may also be able to prescribe a drug to stop the itching. More about this in the consumer section of ComoNews.com. Herb Weisbaum, Como News.
Today's the day to save big and drive home a new Toyota with huge factory cash back, like $3,500 back on a new 2020 Avalon or Avalon Hybrid, $3,000 back on Camry Hybrid, $1,750 back on Sienna, Highlander, Highlander Hybrid, or RAV4, $1,500 on Camry. There's even $1,250 back on RAV4 Hybrid. So hurry in today. We make it easy. Must take delivery from 2020 new car dealer stock by midnight November 2nd. Excludes RAV4 Prime. Toyota. Let's go places.
The in-dash OLED display in the Cadillac Escalade has 38 total diagonal inches of color display. So why do we give it a curve too? I guess you could say we like to bend the rules. The 2021 Cadillac Escalade. Never stop arriving.
Lowe's has a brand new flooring showroom filled with all types of floors. Scratch-resistant floors for toddlers and their toys. Easy-to-clean carpets for canines. Stain-resistant floors for scrumptious suppers. Even floors for yogis finding out how flexible they are. There's floors for all, and they're all at Lowe's. Choose your style and have it installed for the holidays. Install available in-store only. Holiday install applies to basic install and subject to measurement and purchase date restrictions. Installer and product availability. See Lowe's.com for details and licensing. Contiguous U.S. only.
The Home Depot introduces new James Hardie HardieBacker cement board with Hydro Defense technology. 100% waterproof, it's the ultimate barrier to moisture. Now you can skip the steps of waterproofing the entire board, just the joints and fasteners, and you're done. If you're a pro with a bathroom to tile and no time to waste, we've got your backer. New HardieBacker with Hydro Defense technology. In-store, online, now at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Passes ANSI A118.
Sue Romero, a UW doctor's analysis on the president's testing positive for the coronavirus.
Sunshine now. Will it last through the weekend? The forecast in 5 minutes. It's 4 o'clock.
From ABC News, I'm Daria Albinger. President Trump is settling into Walter Reed Hospital, where he's going to spend a few days being treated for COVID-19. The president explaining the decision in a video tweet.
I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out. The First Lady is doing very well.
Mr. and Mrs. Trump announcing overnight that they had tested positive for COVID-19 after one of the president's closest advisors, Hope Hicks, tested positive. ABC's political analyst Steve Roberts says the president learned of this diagnosis about a month to the election.
That the debates, which are scheduled for October 15th, 22nd, now very much in doubt. We do know that the president will be off the campaign trail for at least a couple of days, probably a couple of weeks.
ABC's Karen Travers says for now there are no plans to invoke the 25th Amendment, which would make Vice President Pence acting president.
The White House has made it very clear the president has not transferred power to Vice President Pence. A statement from a top White House aide was emphatic. The president is in charge. Vice President Mike Pence isn't even at the White House right now. We are told that in the last few minutes he was still at his residence just a couple miles away here in Washington.
Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's campaign has canceled all negative ads for the time being. On the campaign trail today in Michigan, Biden said that he and his wife are praying for the Trumps.
I hope that all those who are fighting this virus, including the First Family, and so many Americans today, recover and recover soon.
The former vice president tweeting today that this cannot be a political moment, it must be an American moment. He asked all Americans to pull together. The Labor Department says employers created 661,000 jobs last month, hiring slowing for the third month in a row. Stocks closed lower with investors reacting to the president's diagnosis and to the September jobs report. You're listening to ABC News.
Stay connected. Stay informed. The Como Afternoon News.
Good afternoon. Como News Time, 4:02 with a hazy sunshine in downtown Seattle. It's 72 degrees.
I'm Elisa Jaffe with Rick Van Cise. As you've heard, the president is now at the hospital after testing positive for COVID-19. One local doctor talks about the potential treatments that might be considered. Como's Sue Romero has more.
Dr. John Lynch with UW Medicine says there are currently two main medication-based treatments for the coronavirus.
The first one is remdesivir, which pretty much everyone who is inpatient is getting. This is a medication that can be delivered. It's an antiviral that affects the SARS-CoV, the virus that causes COVID-19.
The other treatment is a steroid called dexamethasone. Lynch says contact tracers have a very big job ahead of them now. They have to go back at least 2 days before the president's positive test to see who, if anyone else, among his team may have been infected. Sue Romero, Como News.
Well, local political analysts tell us the president's diagnosis of COVID-19 will lead to huge uncertainty in the election. And Como's Charlie Harger talked to them just ahead of the president's arrival at Walter Reed.
Republican strategist Randy Peppel says he thinks this hurts the Trump campaign.
The president is at his strongest when he is in person, speaking directly to his base. That is now off the table.
But Democratic strategist Kathy Allen says it might get sympathy out of three key voting groups who had been trending toward Vice President Biden.
I'm going to say young voters, I'm going to say suburban women, and I'm going to say mail-in ballot first-timers.
Allen and Peppel both say this is an event that will lead to even greater uncertainty in the wildest presidential election they can remember. Charlie Harger, Como News.
The alarm is sounding, says one local health leader who says upward COVID trends mean we need to step up our game. Como's Ryan Harris has his warning.
The outbreaks on UW's Greek Row and the Salish Lodge are one thing, but King County Health Officer Dr. Jeff Duchin says the number of new cases each day, up 40% last week from the week before, and a jump in hospitalizations are signs of increasing coronavirus transmission. Duchin also says the new rapid tests the feds are distributing don't come with any guidance on how to use them, and he says they're relatively reliable in outbreaks.
But in screening with people who have no symptoms or are not known to be exposed, a positive test has a high likelihood of being a false positive test and needs to be confirmed with a PCR test.
Duchin says he's hearing more about COVID fatigue, people getting sloppy, so he says taking steps to protect ourselves is even more critical as we move to spending more time indoors with the flu also knocking at the door. Ryan Harris, KOMO News.
Still to come on the KOMO Afternoon News.
Seattle's most successful pro sports team ever, ready to make another run. I'm Corwin Hake, a local hoops legend, is their biggest fan.
4:04, here's Marina with what spots you might need to avoid this afternoon.
Well, it's tough on the east side. We have several issues going on right now. We have a collision northbound 405 just south of 160th that's taking up the toll lane and the left general purpose lane. So that's really causing a slowdown, making your approach. But where it's bumper to bumper solid, I mean, it really looks like a parking lot northbound 405 from 520 all the way up to 116th. And the reason for that is a collision that did clear out of the way. Finally, it had been blocking several lanes. We have a new problem westbound 520 just west of 84th, so there's a collision in the right lane. Westbound I-90 just west of Westlake Sammamish Parkway, disabled vehicle takes up the right lane. Southbound I-5 solid from Highway 18 into Fife. This Look at Traffic sponsored by Allstate. If you're driving less, you could be saving more on car insurance. Save money with pay per mile insurance from Allstate. Call a local Allstate agent and get a quote. Your next KOMO traffic at 4:14.
Beautiful fall afternoon across the Pacific Northwest. Let's take a look at what's in store for the weekend. And Abby Aconi in the KOMO Weather Center.
As we look ahead into the upcoming weekend, we're going to be dealing with a very similar trend to what we've seen today, in that we are gearing up for some fog in the mornings, dense at times with visibility truly a problem. It will take a lot of time for those low-lying clouds to erode. I think we could experience some sunshine into the afternoon, particularly Saturday, with more clouds than sun on Sunday. Possibly dealing with some upper-level smoke through Saturday with cleaner skies overall through Sunday, air quality good to moderate into tomorrow. I'm meteorologist Abby Aconi in the KOMO Weather Center.
Moderate air quality in Seattle right now. The index is at 80, and in downtown we have hazy skies and 73 degrees. At 4:06, you're in the middle of 20 minutes of nonstop news on KOMO.
Businesses with indoor arcades and other family gaming can't reopen in our state until Phase 4 under Governor Jay Inslee's phased-in reopening plan. A business owner in the Tri-Cities is challenging that.
John Corbin and his wife have operated a Chuck E. Cheese franchise in the Tri-Cities since 1982. 2 years ago, they dumped their life savings into the business and moved it to land they own. Billed as the most modern Chuck E. Cheese in the nation, business was booming. Then they had to shut down in March. Still closed 7 months later.
I do think that it's almost criminal to take a life savings from a person for a reason that is not valid.
Corbin sent Governor Inslee a letter this week pleading to reopen, claiming they can take every precaution, shutting down every other game, putting up partitions, constantly cleaning. But Inslee's office sent KOMO a statement that says while they sympathize with Corbin, arcade games indoors present too high a danger for transmission. The Corbins tell the Tri-City Herald the governor should also consider that customers need life celebrations and happy times right now to get them through.
That's KOMO's Carlene Johnson.
The mayor of Seattle proposing spending $151.7 million in homeless services next year. That's about $42 million more than was budgeted this year. At a city council hearing, City Human Services Director Jason Johnson explained much of the increased cost is because of the need to keep people separated during the pandemic.
It also creates new shelters, adds the temporary use of hotel beds, and increases investments in rapid rehousing and diversion.
He says about $39 million of the budget is expected to be a one-time expense.
King County Metro transit officers have arrested a man they say tried to buy a 2-year-old child. The story from KOMO's Greg Hersholt.
It happened last week at the Aurora Village Transit Center when police say a 43-year-old man asked a young woman if he could buy her child for $1,500. When she said no, he gave her his phone number and email address in case she changed her mind. Well, a detective was able to identify the suspect using that information and arrange a meeting where the man was arrested. A search of his hotel room revealed a stolen gun. Greg Hersholt, KOMO News.
A local sports celebrity has hoisted a new flag atop the Space Needle, signaling yet another Seattle team is about to compete for a league championship. KOMO's Corwin Hake with a story.
We're talking about the Seattle Storm of the Women's National Basketball Association.
I'm a big supporter.
Former University of Washington and NBA point guard Isaiah Thomas counts himself among their top fans.
I've been able to practice with the Storm at times, and I got some good friends on the team.
That's why the Space Needle asked him to climb the steep stairs to the tiny outdoor
outdoor platform to raise the green, yellow, and white Storm flag 600 feet high.
Another one. When they asked me to do it, it was a no-brainer, something I've always wanted to do.
The Storm opened their championship series versus the Las Vegas Aces today inside the WNBA quarantine bubble in Bradenton, Florida. This is the Storm's fourth trip to the WNBA Finals. They won all three previous Finals series in 2004, 2010, and 2018, making them, by that measure, Seattle's all-time most successful pro sports franchise.
Hopefully, the Storm bring home another championship and remain the best in the city.
Corwin Hake, Como News.
We check sports at 10 and 40 after the hour. Como's Bill Schwartz tracking a busy first Friday in October.
Rick and EJ, you have winner-take-all playoff baseball, NBA, and WNBA finals. The 3-0 Seahawks will not have the Prez playing defense Sunday when they take on 1-2 Dolphins in Miami. Safety Jamal Adams ruled out with a groin injury. Also scratched is corner Quinton Dunbar and linebacker Jordan Brooks. Good news, running back Chris Carson's knee injury has improved enough he could play. Maybe.
He was on the ground, after a play last week, and so we got to make sure that he's okay. But he had a good, solid week, and we'll go all the way to game time to make sure that he feels really confident and all, but he looked good, and he took plays yesterday and today.
Pete Carroll Seahawks, a touchdown favorite. Just underway, the WNBA Finals opening game. The Seattle Storm play the Las Vegas Aces. Game 2 of the NBA Finals tonight at 6 on Como Television 4. Miami Heat trail Love 1 to the LA Lakers. First pitch coming up soon in San Diego, deciding Game 3 of the NL wildcard between the Padres and St. Louis Cardinals. There are long faces in the Windy City. The Chicago Cubs lose 2-0 and are swept by the Miami Marlins. Sports updates at 10 and 40 after the hour. Bill Schwartz, Como News.
Thank you, Bill. Seattle's going to look red tonight, part of a national tribute to fallen firefighters. For the Light the Night event, Seattle Fire Station's T-Mobile Park and CenturyLink Field will be lit up in red at dusk. Seattle Fire Chief Harold Scoggins says the public is also invited to participate.
If you have a red light, we're asking you to put it on your porch, put it in your front window, and that just lets us know that you're thinking about our fallen just as we're thinking about our fallen.
He says this year's event is especially important because the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation is not able to hold its annual in-person memorial due to COVID-19.
New charges today for convicted sex offender Harvey Weinstein. ABC's Aaron Katursky has more.
Harvey Weinstein has been charged with 3 additional rapes that allegedly occurred in Beverly Hills more than a decade ago. The L.A. County District Attorney's Office said Weinstein raped a woman at a hotel sometime between September 2004 and September 2005, and raped a second woman twice, once in November 2009 and again in November 2010. Weinstein remains in custody in this state following a sex crimes conviction earlier this year. Weinstein has been awaiting transfer to L.A., where he now faces 11 counts and 140 years in prison. Aaron Katursky, ABC News, New York.
Replicas of late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's famous dissent collar are going on sale at Banana Republic, the brand donating 100% of the proceeds to the International Center for Research on Women. The company first released the collar back in 2019. The notorious RBG-approved necklace features glass stones and a velvet lace and is on sale for a pre-order of $98. Ginsburg passed away September 18th at the age of 87.
If you've used Cash App to pay for things, Como's Manda Factor has a warning.
30 million people have downloaded Cash App this year alone. Unfortunately, it's very popular with scammers, too.
We've had reports of scammers posing as tech support representatives who want payment for providing what are ultimately just some bogus software services. And others have reported scammers claiming to sell some high-demand products that actually don't exist, but they did request that payment in advance.
Ben Spradling with the Better Business Bureau on how to keep your information safe.
No one representing the Cash App is ever going to ask for your sign-in information over the phone or on social media.
Spradling says it all goes back to being a very careful consumer. Double-check information before you send money and verify the recipient's name. Manda Factor, Como News.
From ABC News, tech trends. Millions of people forced out of their jobs by the coronavirus pandemic are turning to tech for help and work. In the midst of the COVID closures,
in just 3 months, we've already helped 10 million people learn new skills. These are people from all around the world, from over 200 countries, and also from every state in the United States.
Neri Santalucia from Microsoft Philanthropies days after the launch of programs through LinkedIn, helping train people in 21st century skills.
We've seen software developer as a huge hit, and the customer service pathway, and also data analyst.
And she says in some cases,
within a couple weeks, people have been able to train up, especially at the customer service specialist role, and then get a new job.
But warns finding new work in most areas will take longer. Also available, practice job interviews with an artificial intelligence that will offer feedback.
The AI will tell you, slow down, don't use the ums.
With Tech Trends, I'm Sherry Preston, ABC News.
4:14, here's Marina with Como traffic.
Well, we still have northbound 405, a collision just south of 160th that's now just blocking the toll lane there, but it is causing a bit of a slowdown trying to get there, and really tough coming through Bellevue. It's bumper to bumper from 520 almost to Totem. Well, it's bumper to bumper between 520 and about 85th. Then it's just sluggish up towards Totem Lake, but then you're back in that other backup because of the thing at 160th. Southbound 405 is solid going into Bellevue as well, because we had an earlier collision just north of 520, and it looks like they're still reporting that as in the right lane. It had been cleared, but now it looks like it's back. We also have on westbound Highway 18, the off-ramp to Auburn Way, a collision being reported partially blocking the ramp. Southbound I-5 solid from Highway 18 through the 5 curve. And the Snohomish River Bridge, there's a collision southbound State Route 529 in the left lane. This Look at Traffic is sponsored by Allstate. If you're driving less, you could be saving more on car insurance. Save money with pay-per-mile insurance from Allstate. Call a local Allstate agent and get a quote. Your next Como Traffic at 424.
The Como weather outlook, cloudy and foggy tomorrow morning, hazy sunshine in the afternoon with a high near 70. In downtown Seattle now 73 degrees at Como News.
Stay connected, stay informed. The Northwest's only 24-hour news station, Como News.
Jeremy Grader's our editor. I'm Rick Van Sice with Elisa Jaffe.
President Trump says he is doing very well after testing positive for coronavirus.
I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out. The First Lady is doing very well.
Trump tweeted a video of himself before departing for Walter Reed Medical Center and says he's received a lot of support.
So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I will never forget it. Thank you.
No comment from Virginia Mason's Yakima Memorial Hospital today after 2 nurses filed a complaint with the state arguing that staffing and sanitation practices are putting patients and staff at risk during the pandemic.
And the president is at Walter Reed Military Hospital right now for what the White House calls a few days of treatment for COVID-19. His test coming back positive just hours after the White House announced senior aide Hope Hicks tested positive after traveling with the president several times this week. Philip Bump is covering this story for the Washington Post and spoke with Como's Jeff Pogula.
Do we know how the virus made its way into the West Wing?
We don't. My understanding is that there are currently efforts underway to figure out the extent of infection inside the White House, which should provide some insight into how it might have reached there. But, President Trump last night on Fox News suggested that it started with Hope Hicks' counselor and her willingness to embrace people who came up and trying to introduce themselves to her. It's really not clear beyond that, however.
And so what do we know about the president, the first lady, and their infections, other than the fact that they are quarantining themselves inside the executive residence?
Yeah, surprisingly little. We haven't yet heard from either the White House physician or from the president since his initial tweet or the initial tweet from his account suggesting that he had tested positive. So we don't really know. We've heard at first this morning, we heard that he was experiencing some mild symptoms. One of his advisors, Larry Kudlow, came and said that he was experiencing very, very moderate symptoms, which I'm not really sure what that means. But we haven't really received much word about the position the president's in at this moment.
Now, the president is in several high-risk categories. For example, he is 74, overweight, and has high cholesterol. What complications are the doctors worried about?
Well, I think one of the things to keep in mind is we really don't know how the disease progresses beyond just the broadest stroke. So we don't know what particular things might prompt the body to react in one way or the other. I think that you're right, that there are these various circumstances. It affects older people worse, it affects men worse, it affects people who are overweight worse, and that's setting aside
the fact that we still remain fairly unclear about what other medical conditions the president might have, given that his physicals and the information we received from his doctors over the years have been at times questionable and at other times incomplete.
What's the White House protocol for a situation like this?
Well, it's sort of a novel situation. I'm not sure there is an established protocol beyond, trying to make sure that they contain it to whatever extent they can. I mean, it's remarkable, though, that even within the White House now, it still isn't mandatory to wear a face covering. I think that they are, to some extent, scrambling today. They were slow to acknowledge the initial reporting that Hicks had contracted the virus. They were, for the first time, really, since someone contracted it in the White House, they were ahead of the ball in terms of updating people about the president's condition, but it seems pretty clear that they were caught a little flat-footed as well.
That was Hope Hicks, the first person within the, I don't want to say the administration, but within the White House to contract COVID-19 because hundreds of thousands of people work there.
Yeah, no, she's not. The complex is big. There are a lot of people there. In May, the president's personal valet contracted the virus. A few days after that, Vice President Pence's communications director, press secretary, who also happens to be Stephen Miller's wife, contracted it. Then there was the National Security Advisor contracted it, I believe, in July, off the top of my head. So there have been these other incidents. In each case, it's worth noting that it's been the media has found out about it and released stories at which point the White House acknowledged it. So over and over, we've seen a pattern from the White House where they're not eager to share details about new infections, and I think that's something we saw play out yesterday as well.
That is KOMO's Jeff Pogula at 420.
Jim Chesko now with your Como Propel Insurance Money Update.
It was an overall positive week for U.S. stocks, despite a tech-led decline in the Friday session. The tech-heavy NASDAQ composite today slid 251 points, or 2.2%. The Dow Jones Industrials eased 134 points. The S&P 500 dipped 32. Weighing on the market today, the overnight news that President Trump and the First Lady had tested positive for the coronavirus, and a weaker than expected September jobs report. The nation's unemployment rate dropped to 7.9% last month compared to August's 8.4%. However, job growth of 661,000 was below expectations and much slower in terms of growth than in the summer months. Oil prices slid 4.3% today and were down 8% for the week. That's your money now.
Money news on Como at 20 and 50 past every hour. Stand by. We'll have the latest on your homeward bound traffic and then some delicious Vietnamese food next.
Como Radio News. Stay connected, stay informed, and check back 2, 3, 4 times a day for the news that affects you, plus traffic and weather every 10 minutes on the 4s. The Northwest News Station. This is Como News.
Today's the day to save big and drive home a new Toyota with huge factory cash back, like $3,500 back on a new 2020 Avalon or Avalon Hybrid, $3,000 back on Camry Hybrid, $1,750 back on Sienna, Highlander, Highlander Hybrid, or RAV4, $1,500 on Camry. There's even $1,250 back on RAV4 Hybrid. So hurry in today. We make it easy. Must take delivery from 2020 new car dealer stock by midnight November 2nd. Excludes RAV4 Prime. Toyota. Let's go places.
Lowe's has a brand new flooring showroom filled with all types of floors. Scratch-resistant floors for toddlers and their toys. Easy-to-clean carpets for canines. Stain-resistant floors for scrumptious suppers. Even floors for yogis finding out how flexible they are. There's floors for all, and they're all at Lowe's. Choose your style and have it installed for the holidays. Install available in-store only. Holiday install applies to basic install and subject to measurement and purchase date restrictions. Installer and product availability. See Lowe's.com for details and licensing. Contiguous U.S. only.
The available AKG 36-speaker sound system in the Cadillac Escalade provides 360-degree sound, so you hear studio sound on the road. The 2021 Cadillac Escalade never stop arriving.
The Home Depot introduces new James Hardie HardieBacker cement board with Hydro Defense technology. 100% waterproof, it's the ultimate barrier to moisture. Now you can skip the steps of waterproofing the entire board, just the joints and fasteners, and you're done. If you're a pro with a bathroom to tile and no time to waste, we've got your backer. New HardieBacker with Hydro Defense technology. In-store, online, now at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Passes ANSI A118.10 waterproof test.
Hi, I'm Dr. Nia Hurd-Garris with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics.
As parents, we want our children to grow up healthy and strong. That means helping teens take responsibility for their health as they become young adults. One way to do that is to make sure they have one-on-one time with their pediatrician. That helps them become comfortable talking about any health issue with their doctors and with you. So make sure to give your teen a voice. It's good for their health. For more on teen health, visit healthychildren.org.
It's easier than you think for pests to threaten your family's health. Ticks, which spread dangerous diseases, hide in tall grasses and even on your pets. Rodents easily invade your home, contaminate food, and can carry more than 35 diseases. Mosquitoes, which breed in standing water, transmit many diseases. Get the facts you need to protect your family at pestworld.org. It's that easy. A public service message from the National Pest Management Association.
424, Marina Rockinger with a check on traffic.
Well, northbound 405 at 116th, we did have a collision in the left toll lane. It had been blocking several lanes. The whole thing has been cleared away. It left a solid backup, however, from 520. Southbound 405 is also crowded coming through Kirkland, north of 85th, towards 520 from earlier issues, and tough again through Bellevue from 20th down towards I-90. Northbound I-5 is now starting to struggle out of the U District, and that's going to be off and on all the way through Mount Lake Terrace up to about 220 at